I'm here today informed by Freudian and Lacanian ideologies to apply a psychoanalytic lens to one of the greatest movies of all time. In what is my opinion, a solid apparatus for exploring questions and myths of any era past or present. According to the works we've been supplied by Todd McGowan, we can understand there are 4 distinct types of cinema with regards to post-Lacanian ideology and psychoanalytic studies. Cinema of fantasy, cinema of desire, cinema of integration, and cinema of intersection. My focus is primarily on the 4 types of cinema and as how they compare to the 4 different times we see the enigma that is the monolith within this film. Written by McGowan here, he states, "Fantasy should not be opposed to reality because fantasy sustains what we experience as reality." One of the most interesting facts that I learned while researching this movie is that it helped form the foundation for what we know as LFT today, Lacanian film theory. This movie represents multiple beads of amazing plots to follow, all centering around the mystery of the monolith. This device functions within this movie for displaying the use of the gaze in regards to desire. The monolith gazes at the characters and spectators, causing our desire to invent tools and evolve. Without having to summarize the plot to you, so you may interpret it for your own, the monolith appears 4 times throughout this 160-minute long joyride. It shows up on the African savanna, on the moon, in space, orbiting Jupiter, and near Bowman's bed before his transformation. Dr. Bashara has kindly pointed out that the monolith can also be a metaphor for cinema itself if you think about the aspect ratio of the screen in which we view it upon. This made me think of my cell phone. It stands just like the monolith inside the film. Kubrick predicted within his movie that we would all have our own personal monoliths in our own pocket. I would beg the question, do you have a cell phone? Take it out of your pocket and take a look at it. It's going to eerily represent the same thing the monolith does within the movie. It functions as our object A every day and we don't even realize it. The first encounter of the monolith is to the ape-like humans, which grants them reasoning. This yields a non-stop race towards evolution. Initially located on that African savanna, it shows up black against a beautiful background. This shows a nod to evolution through the monolith imparting the knowledge of reason. McGowan elaborates in Journal 42, and I quote, "Cinema's precise ideological effect involves creating a phantomization of the subject." This comment focuses on how cinema's investment in fantasy serves to hide the social structures that produce that fantasy. Evolution and the circle of life are among ideas represented with the backdrop beautifully haunting with composed music in the background. You will notice multiple instances of this analogy of spaceflight to intercourse and spaceships to colonizing organisms to the organs of reproduction seen as cosmonauts and their goals to impregnate the solar system with their seed, while watching the primate man pick up the bone, pun intended. The next appearance of the monolith would be on the moon. And contrary to the last appearance, it's almost monotone, the color scheme that is. Scientists approach it just as early men did, however, without the reverence that they showed it. It rings a sonic pitch in response to them taking a picture with it, presumably killing everyone within earshot. The next visible case of the monolith is in space orbiting Jupiter. And in this scene, it's really hard to put to words. You really have to watch it for yourself. The final encounter with the monolith is Lieutenant Bowman before his transformation into the giant baby space child fetus. Each encounter with the mysterious object, we only learn that we do not know, nor can comprehend what it has to impart upon us. Bowman goes on a trip through dimensions of light and sound, easily interpreted as truths too far beyond his or our limits to define comprehensible. Todd McGowan can reason what exactly the enigmatic mystery of the monolith is when speaking of this relationship, and I quote, "One of the great lures of the desiring subject is the image of an unapproachable object of desire, an object that possesses such riches that we cannot come near it." This film is didactic and unsettling, but by far my favorite example of a masterpiece of human hands, well spoken by Plato. I quote, "I know that I do not know." And I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much.